Jude Bellingham is truly different because he possesses something other young players simply don't, or because the media anointed him as English football's chosen one far too early. At an age when most players are still fighting to establish themselves, Bellingham had already played for Borussia Dortmund, moved to Real Madrid, and found himself carrying the expectations of an entire nation. But what really lies behind that remarkable maturity? To understand where the anomaly begins, you have to go back to where it all started. Stourbridge, and a football club that was fighting for its financial and sporting life in the championship. When Jude Bellingham made his senior debut for Birmingham City in August 2019 at just 16 years and 38 days old, breaking a record held by Trevor Francis, the British media did what the British media always does. They reached for the hyperbole manual. The next big thing, the generational prodigy. Except, if you actually watch those early championship games, not just the glossy highlight reels on Twitter, but 90 minutes of mud, sweat, and agricultural defending, you notice something far stranger than just technical brilliance. In English football, 16-year-olds making their senior debut are supposed to be polite. They're supposed to keep their heads down, play simple 5-yard passes, let the senior pros do the shouting, and be grateful for a spot on the bench. Jude didn't get that memo. From minute one, he was demanding the ball in tight spaces, pointing where he wanted his teammates to run, and most jarringly of all, arguing with referees and shoving seasoned veterans off the ball without a hint of teenage deference. It wasn't arrogance, exactly. It was an utter absence of intimidation. Age simply did not compute as a barrier in his head. Now, plenty of kids have got quick feet. Fewer have got the personality to match it at 16. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's just character. Maybe he's just born with a rare strain of stubborn self-belief. But hang on, because it gets more specific than that. In the summer of 2020, most boys his age were sweating over their A-level results or wondering if they'd get a game in League One on loan. Bellingham packed his bags and moved to the Ruhr Valley. Borussia Dortmund isn't a finishing school for the faint-hearted. It's a pressure cooker ecosystem built on high-octane football and unforgiving expectations, where young players are thrust into the spotlight not as a charity case, but because the business model demands it. Yet, within a remarkably short space of time, something unprecedented happened. Not only did he walk straight into the starting Elexem, displacing seasoned internationals, but he was eventually named the club's third captain, becoming the youngest skipper in Bundesliga history. Let's pause on that for a second, because in modern football, handing a teenager the armband at a Champions League club is usually a marketing stunt or a desperate gamble by a manager trying to tie down a want-away asset. Dortmund didn't do it for PR. They did it because they had no choice. Behind closed doors, in tactical meetings and crisis moments in the dressing room, the coaching staff noticed that when things went pear-shaped, when Dortmund were bottling a lead against Bayern or collapsing in a European tie, it wasn't the 28-year-old veterans taking control. It was the 17-year-old Englishman organizing the press, chewing out teammates who switched off and demanding accountability. So is it nature or is it environment? Did Dortmund make him a leader, or did they simply provide the crucible that exposed what was already there? Actually, hold that thought. Because in the summer of 2023, Bellingham was about to walk into an environment that would test both of those hypotheses at the exact same time on the most unforgiving stage in world football. Real Madrid doesn't sign players to nurture them. They sign players who are already finished articles, or players they expect to conquer the world by tomorrow morning, when Florentino Perez shelled out roughly £88. $5 million to bring a 19-year-old midfielder from the Bundesliga in July 2023, eyebrows were raised across Europe. For British fans, the comparison point was clear. Imagine taking a teenager with just 2 full seasons of senior English football under his belt and dropping him straight into the engine room of the most successful club in football history, surrounded by Ballon d'Or winners. galactic egos, and a press corps that treats a 2-game winless streak like a national emergency. Plenty of generational talents have arrived at the Bernabeu wrapped in hype, only to drown under the weight of the white shirt. The history of Real Madrid is littered with wonder kids who couldn't handle the suffocating expectation that every single pass must be a masterpiece and every single match must be won by 3 goals. Yet, from his very first training session under Carlo Ancelotti, something uncanny happened. Bellingham didn't look like a boy playing up an age group. He looked like he owned the real estate. How does an English lad from Stourbridge walk into that dressing room where Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are walking legends and instantly command their respect without uttering a single arrogant word? The answer wasn't just technical, it was tactical alchemy. His debut season in Madrid defied belief. Operating in a newly crafted advanced midfield role under Ancelotti, ghosting past strikers into the penalty box like a seasoned number 9 while possessing the engine of a box-to-box enforcer, Bellingham tore La Liga apart. He scored 15 goals in his first 14 games, breaking records set by Cristiano Ronaldo, and then came El Clasico. 2 goals. The second, a stoppage winner that silenced Barcelona's stadium and announced to the world that a new king had taken his throne. Just a few weeks later, the phenomenon crossed over to the international stage. Euro 2024. England are minutes away from suffering one of the most embarrassing tournament exits in their modern history, trailing Slovakia 1-0 in the dying seconds of the round of 16. And then, out of nowhere, that overhead kick. The word clutch was hurled around American and British media until it lost all meaning. He was the chosen one, the savior of English football. Destined for individual glory, for a while there, it felt like Bellingham couldn't miss. Which, if you've watched football for more than 5 minutes, should have quietly worried you, because nobody, not Messi, not Zidane, not anyone, plays at that superhuman level forever without hitting a wall. The question was never if a dip would come. The question was, what happens when the fairy tale stops? The second season at Real Madrid didn't follow the script. A lingering shoulder injury, niggling, painful, and requiring constant management, robbed him of his explosive dynamism. Tactical adjustments across the squad meant he was no longer the sole focal point of attack. The arrival of Kylian Mbappé reshaped the gravitational pull of the team. Suddenly, Bellingham was asked to do the dirty defensive running, anchoring deeper, sacrificing his goal-scoring numbers for the collective shape. The goals dried up. The highlight reels stopped spinning every weekend, and almost immediately, the narrative shifted. The very same pundits who had anointed him as a demigod 12 months prior began whispering about burnout, ego, and the curse of the teenage prodigy. For English fans, this was a deeply familiar cultural reflex. We've seen this movie before. We've watched brilliant young talents burn blindingly bright for one season and then fade into the background. The haunting ghosts of Ravel Morrison or Dele Alli. Cautionary tales whispered in pubs across the country. Here we go again, the tabloids muttered. Too much, too soon. It was a crucial juncture, and it exposed the ultimate illusion of modern football. If raw talent and early adulation were all it took to make a legend, this is where the story would end. So if talent alone isn't the answer, what separates a genuine generational icon from a one-season wonder? Here's what you don't see on TikTok edits during that entire difficult stretch, when the Spanish press were questioning his transfer fee, when his body was aching, and when the whole world was dissecting his dip in form. Jude Bellingham did something remarkable. He kept his mouth shut, no cryptic Instagram stories, no petulant interviews blaming the manager or his teammates. No public PR campaigns trying to spin his defensive duties as an excuse. Behind the closed doors of Valdebebas, coaching staff noted that his work rate didn't drop by a single %. When he wasn't the main character on the pitch, he remained the anchor in the dressing room. He was the first to congratulate his teammates when they scored, the first to organize the defensive block in training, and the first to front up to the media when things went wrong. Think back to Chapter 2, Dortmund's youngest captain. We thought leadership was about barking orders when you're winning 4-0. We were wrong. True leadership isn't about what you do when the world is cheering your name. It's about how you behave when the cameras turn away, the headlines turn nasty, and nobody is clapping. And that right there, more than any wonder goal or £50 million price tag, is the first real clue to what actually makes him different. Which brings us to the summer of 2026. Bellingham arrived at the World Cup not as an untouchable wonderkind wrapped in hype, but as a battle-tested veteran of crisis. He had already lived through the mountaintop and the valley below, all before turning 23. The tournament wasn't a solo highlight reel. It was a masterclass in controlled, ruthless maturity. In the group stage against Croatia and Panama, he didn't try to win games single-handedly. He dictated the tempo, controlled the transitions, and struck with cold efficiency. Then came the knockouts. In the round of 16 against Mexico, he delivered a masterclass, a clinical brace that broke Mexican resistance. In the quarterfinals against Norway, with England staring down the barrel of extra-time exhaustion, Bellingham produced another 2 goals, dragging the Three Lions into the semifinals. In doing so, he etched his name alongside immortals. The first player to score in 2 consecutive World Cup knockout matches as a teenager or early 20s talisman since Diego Maradona in 1986, and the second youngest in history to achieve the feat behind only Pelé in 1958. He finished the tournament with 7 goals, surpassed only by Mbappé and Messi, setting the record for the most goals ever scored by a midfielder in a single World Cup. He became the youngest European to play in 4 major international tournaments and the youngest Englishman to earn 50 caps. Even when England ultimately fell short in a heartbreaking semi-final battle against reigning champions Argentina, they bounced back to claim the bronze medal by defeating France in a 6-goal thriller, securing England's best finish at a World Cup on foreign soil in 60 years. Bellingham wasn't just a scorer of great goals anymore. He was the heartbeat of a nation. Right, let's put the pieces on the table. We started this journey with a simple question. What makes Jude Bellingham different? It's not just raw talent, because as we saw in Birmingham, every academy in Europe produces kids with magic in their boots. It's not just early leadership, because wearing the armband at Dortmund was only a test of whether he could shoulder responsibility when things were easy. And it certainly isn't the myth of the chosen one, because, as Madrid in the 2024-25 season proved, destiny is a trap that breaks anyone who believes their own hype. The real answer, the fundamental difference that sets Bellingham apart from every other brilliant English prodigy of the last 30 years, is the unique intersection of 3 things. First, an elite footballing intelligence that lets him skip steps in his development. Second, an unforgiving European education that forced him to grow up under fire in Dortmund and Madrid. And third, most importantly of all, the psychological resilience to handle silence and failure without throwing a tantrum. Most wonder kids break when the hype stops. Bellingham used the silence to rebuild. He didn't let success corrupt him, and he didn't let failure defeat him. That is why he is different. So next time Bellingham goes quiet for a few months at Madrid, and he will, because that's football, and nobody stays at peak velocity forever, maybe don't panic. Don't listen to the tabloids screaming about burnout. Don't buy into the panic, because on current form, a quiet Bellingham isn't a fading star. That's usually right before he does something nobody saw coming. Thanks for watching.